build out the structure before the open so that we're operating in alignment with the day's dominant forces, not guessing, not chasing. We'll build out the structure, we'll trade it live, we'll break down the market in real time, and we'll focus on the decisions that lead to consistency. No guessing, no chasing. All right, let's dig into the charts. So immediately we're going to start. It's actually Monday, so let's just zoom out a little bit, take a look at the weekly, see how that formed for last week. Just want to get a quick. So we have this huge flagpole here, this like flagpole type of structure developing, and it's just a huge breakout. Obviously, these prior highs here at 76.50 become our first point of reference, okay, where we can even go into, I can see something where we come into on any type of liquidation break where we might come into, let me just get the right tool here, where we might come into this gap here, right? If we happen to break down below 76.50, we'll keep an eye on this prior high that was actually the high of the breakout, and that high comes in at 75.65. Okay, but that's what we have on the higher time frame on the weekly. All right, now let's dig into the daily chart. Let's get a quick look at that. See how Friday formed out. Okay, yeah, so look, immediately the first thing, we could go to the 4-hour chart, right? Because it's going to have a lot of the same structures. It's going to give us a little bit more detail on it. And eventually what we see here is immediately that we have this flagpole forming, right? So we have the huge flagpole, and now we have this flag forming here. We can see that will become a point of reference for us moving forward. But let's just keep an eye on this breakout. The flag bottom is coming in at roughly the low from Friday, I believe. No, it was actually last Wednesday. All right, so that low is coming in at 77.24. Guys, that becomes a really big level, right? So let's just talk a little bit about what we might see on the 4-hour time frame, right? So if bulls are unable to hold this area, right, that would signal to us a failure of the bull flag, okay? So if we get something like this where price comes down and we show acceptance below that area, 77.24. Let's see if we can build a band down there. I hate being very linear with the numbers. It's rarely one number. Yeah, 77. Let's call that 7,700 to 77.25. Yeah, hang on a second. Hang on, guys. Let me just get that screen share up. Let me get my screen share up in my room. Okay. There we go. All right, guys. All right. Let me know if you can hear me in the Manny room. Let's see. Okay, good. All right, guys. Let me know in the Manny room if you have that. If you have the pit tab. All right, so let's just dig in. The market opened here. Let's just make sure that we get an idea for what the opening tab was. Okay, so we opened. Guys, look at this thing is ripping right off of setup number 1, right? From the market blueprint. Market blueprint is getting setup number 1. Our low came in at 77.72, so let's keep an eye on that. So I just want to build out this structure here on the 4-hour time frame. I want to talk about it a little bit because one thing I want to look at that 77.24 to 7700, 77.25 level. Hey, that's a prime area for attention, right? So if we can get down. So the first eyes are on this higher low right here. So this high comes in at 77.42. So 77.50. That's a prime location for a higher low. If the market is intent on doing something like this, where it forms a higher low within this bull flag structure. All right. But if we break down, if we happen to break down below the low and move lower, and where we're targeting 76.50, that would signal a shift. That would signal that the bulls are no longer in control. Also, that 77.24 area gives us a prime setup for a look below and fail. All right, so let's keep an eye on that, because that can be that can materialize. I think that setup is probably a high probability setup. All right. All right, so that takes care of that. Let's jump into the 15-minute time frame. You can see we just put in that low. We're in this really poorly auctioned area. Okay, the guy's getting an echo. Hang on a second. Well, look, immediately we blasted through the settlement. Heads up. So we just got right through the settlement. We just went right through the settlement. So heads up on that. I'm long some futures here, but I just added to the trade. So, and it destroyed my average. But let me just make sure that I'm back onto this chart again. So we went over, we didn't really build out our 15-minute setups, but because the market kind of opened on me late. Today was the first day my kids went back to middle school, so we kind of had to get them going on a new time frame. But here, guys, we're already busting through. Let's get a larger 15. Let's get a 15-minute chart up here on this side too as well, so we can kind of get an idea for where this might stall out. All right, that's a 5-minute. This is a 15. We want to be cautious here, guys, because this area, I don't think that this 7,800 is going to go very quickly. But also, the first thing that I'm seeing here on the 15-minute time frame is we're retesting that. I'm out of that trade. We're retesting that downward sloping 9 and 21 period moving average. All right, so we want to be mindful of that, because that is typically a high probability setup, and that's why I just exited. I had a 77, 75 average, and I just dumped those because for nothing, because I saw this downward sloping 21 period moving average, and I think that's going to try to push us lower here, at least on the first touch. All right. So let me see. Wow, pretty serious wick. Right. So, hey, what we might be looking at today, guys, is also a scenario where the market kind of looks for a low, like a CD, like a cycle day one type of scenario. So let's just be aware of that. And let me just make sure that everybody in the Manny tab can get in here. Hang on. Let me get you that link. All right, everybody in the Manny tab, can you go over to the pit tab, to the pit room, so that this way that will help with the echo, because I'm having a problem doing 2 shares. It's going to echo really bounce back really fast, and then I'll jump back in. Yeah, see, we're doing 2 shares. I don't want to do that. It doesn't look great. Timeout. Let me get the screen share back up. Yeah, look, we're bouncing right back up. Look, so this could be immediately what I'm noticing here, guys, is that we have this scenario where the market just is going to remain in balance. And that's one of the things I'm going to focus on talking about today. Everyone in the Manny room, please give me a heads up if you can hear me, because I want to make sure everybody can hear me before I really dig into. I want to make sure you guys can hear, so before I dig into uh, today's narrative. So I'll just give that a second here to develop. I'll take care of some more. House clipping here. Okay. All right. Thanks, Docky. All right. Great. Sweet. All right. Have everyone. Now I'm going to switch over to the pit tab, guys. Coming on here. So let's just be mindful. I want to get a read on the internals. Hey, the fact that we just came up, remember how we always treat the settlement, right? Let's just talk about that for a moment, right? Because the settlement's important. Look at what happened just here. We came up. Let me just get this on the same chart. Right. Let's just focus in on this one here on the left-hand chart. Remember, this is an important nuance when you're coming to trade the ES, right? This is what like a long time and plenty of experience brings you. Hey, so we always treat the settlement as a tell, right? We want to see what happens at the settlement. We don't. I personally don't trade around the settlement. But what I want to do is I want to gauge your reaction. So look, we just came to the settlement. We busted through it. All screens went green, and then we came right back through, and we're trading lower. You can see here that kind of structure is materializing on the 5-minute. Right? Let's just zoom out to that. Right? This is how this is how we're going to always want to use the settlement. Today's a great example of that. All right. So we came into the settlement. On our open, we looked above it and then failed. And then now we just tested right back up to the moving average. And now we're auctioning lower. Okay. So let's see how this materializes from here. But that is definitely a tell that, hey, maybe these supports are not going to hold. Or at very minimum, hey, let's give this some time, right? Let's allow it to develop. Let's wait to read the auction a little bit better as the morning materializes. Or this can simply be a morning, right, where we're just going to stay in balance. Remember where we are on the higher time frame, right? We don't want to forget that, right? So let's just put up the higher time frame on the right-hand chart. We'll give it just a clean look so we don't have anything interfering with it. Right. And what we want to focus on here is this larger bull flag structure. And I noted this morning in the market blueprint that, hey, this doesn't look very mature to me. Right. This does not look very like a mature bull flag to me. So do we auction lower? Maybe. And if we do, we're going to have our focus on where? Well, we know that we had this prior breakout high that came in at 77.50. And then we also know we have that low. That 77.50 is a prime location for a higher low, right? So we had the breakout right above 77.50, and this is our low, 77.24. So if we're moving up higher, it makes sense that if we're going to put in a higher low, that would be an area. If we get down to the 77.24, great. You know what? Gives us a better opportunity for a better trade. All right. But the one thing I do want to point out is that, hey, this is not a very mature bull flag. The other thing is let's not forget what happened when we were trading the Artemis to the moon rally, right? Remember what the characteristic of that rally was, right? So that rally, this was the best pullback it had, and then it went sideways, breakout, sideways, breakout, sideways. Look at how long this balance area took. every breakout was preceded by a sideways move, right? With the longest one being, let's just test it and see how long it took. So this one went from April 16th to April 30th, 2 weeks. All right, so 2 weeks. So we can't get very bullish here. We can't get, we can't get very bearish here. What we have to do is understand what type of market we're in. And on the Monday morning, I don't want to attack it that hard, because I'm waiting for more information. All right, and that's going to be a key thing that I'm going to speak about today, is making sure that we're trading the market that's in front of us, and better yet, knowing how to trade a balance area, because I anticipate that that's what we're going to be in probably for at least another day. I mean, I could be wrong, but that is my early read with just a little bit of information. Again, all I have to go on is what happened, Thursday, Friday, and into last night. All right, so let me see here. Just bear with me. Let me do some housekeeping. Let me know if you guys need any clarification on anything there. Just got to get my Substack people on here. Okay. All right. It looks like we're going here. Boom. Perfect. All right. So very early in here, you can see. All right. So let's see what we have. So the market opened at what? 77.73. And we have a 12-point range, in which that 12-point range has not accomplished anything. The only thing that we have to go on yet at this point is that we failed to convert the settlement and value area high. All right, so that's not really going to give us a lot to go on. Let me know if you have any questions before we move on. Make sure everybody in here is good. Okay, good, perfect. All right. Again, let me know if you have any questions. I think that we could probably safely say that this little balance area is still negotiating, is still trying to figure itself out. So we're just going to continue to watch how that develops. And let's just talk about how we could trade this, right? So let's just move to the trade chart, right? I think it's about that time. So look, we have this balance area. We've been rejected from the settlement. We know where the settlement is. It's our settlement price is up there at 77, 79, 75. We have this clear shelf materializing right here at our 12-point range, 77, 77 to 77, 70. Okay. So let's walk through what can potentially happen and what would be the trade. What do we need to see to enter this either short or long? All right, so immediately what I want to look at is what I would like to see. I mean, this is going to be a lot of speculation, okay? But what I would like to see is I'd like to see a break here, come down, wipe all these guys out down here. Maybe, maybe look like a violent sell and I would like to trade a reclaim and a return to balance. Okay, that's what I would like. Markets very rarely give us what we like. Okay, so let's just say that we stay chopping sideways here for the next 30 minutes. Well, then we can play a breakout, right? Or could play a breakout. Wait, You can play any type of breakout in a continuation move. But let me ask you this. In a balancing market, do we really want to try to, is a breakout going to be a high probability trade? Let me first see if you can answer that for me. In a 12-point range, do we think that a breakout, given the current structure, below the settlement, above the overnight high, and where we're topping out, where we're trading, would a breakout of this 12-point range be a solid scalp? And okay. Well, I'll go ahead and answer while you guys, I'm sure maybe some of you are in a trade or managing a position. I'll wait a few more minutes. But so in a 12-point range, yeah, we can trade a breakout. Sure, why not? Right? Because we know that the average range of the ES is not going to be, a 12-point range for the rest of the day. And while we have room to our targets like Friday's regular trading hours high or the overnight low, yeah, there's room for a breakout. If we break out from 77.70 to down to 77.63, yeah, we could scalp that. There is some there is a risk reward benefit to that, and I'll show you how we can justify that. Because, well, we have context on our side, right? So we understand that, yeah, 12-point range is not really what the ES does, okay? And if we took let's say we took a short trade, right? Let's say we took a short trade looking for the overnight low, okay? Our risk is above the settlement. We need to get down to 77.58 to justify the trade, okay? Now let's take a look at the long trade. Well, if we took a long trade, say we're trading right here, right in the middle, right at the open, and this becomes our risk, right? So then we need to get up to 77.90 quarter, which is just above, value area high, and yesterday's high being 77.86. Yeah, we could justify, a scalp trade there, because we understand that the ES typically is not going to maintain this small of a range for very long. Okay, so those are two potential scenarios on how you can engage with this range. Now let's talk about maybe let's talk about a different option. Let me know if you guys have any questions on that. I'm going to try to get rid of this measuring tool here. Just bear with me. Dang it. All right. All right, so let's say if we want to take a directional bet, we already know how that's going to work out. Now we have a little bit more going for us here, right? We held the support area. Okay, so we held the support area. Price seems to be reacting really well there. Okay. Look at that, right back down again, right back down. Okay, so sit on hands here. Still sit on a sit on hands type of morning. Hang tight. Don't try to pull the trigger too early. At least that's what I'm focused on. I don't want to get engaged too early. Look at this, right back down into the range. Right back down into the range. WTI up 3%. Wow. Thanks for the heads up on that, Adrian. Yep, for sure. Yep. That is something to look at. Hey, let's take a look at the internals, right? Let's just get a read under the hood while we're just hanging out here waiting for a better directional clue. I'd have to think that for me, I'd have to favor the downside trade here, just because it's such a slight edge, because I'm at a support, but I'm looking for a low. I don't like anything inside this range. I mean, I really don't. I'm going to talk about a little bit about, I think it's a great day to talk about balanced markets and how to engage in balanced markets. And I'm trying to, what I'm trying to do is frame the trades around a balanced market, because we know right now that we have a micro balance that's nested in a higher time frame balance. All right, that is not really a condition for us to be attacking on a Monday morning. Right? Who wants to start the week with a big drawdown? I know I don't. Again, remember, let's take a look at the higher time frame structure. Look, we had the big breakout, and now we're just consolidating, going sideways in a value area that's essentially has gone nowhere. I mean, look at these value areas, guys. Right? These value areas are delineated by these white distributions, and these value areas are all overlapping. Right? There has not been a change in value since the big breakout that happened, since the big impulsive move that got us to these highs. We've just been in this area going sideways. Okay. With this being our low to monitor, 7720, 7700, 7725. That's really where the opportunities lie. I do not think we're going to get that powerful breakout to the upside today. I don't know. A lot of things I'm looking at are just pointing to balance. And frequently when I have this level of, when I have this type of conviction, or not wouldn't say conviction, but as much as I've spoken about it, we'll probably break out, which is great, right? Let's get a breakout here. Let's go. I can trade that too. What I can't trade is a 12 point range on a Monday morning. Nope, not doing it. No interest. Let somebody else's money figure this out. All right. Okay. Let me grab, my hat. Okay. All right, let's dig in here. I think the key thing that we want to focus on when we're talking about balanced markets is, if you trade a balanced market like it's a trend, like it's trending, you're going to spend the entire day buying highs and selling lows. It's going to be a chase fest. Our first job is not figuring out whether we're bullish or bearish. It's recognizing what kind of market we're actually trading. And I think that that's what we have. What our focus has been this morning has been like, hey, let's focus on what kind of market we are in. Where is the trade plan? Okay, there it is. Oh, that's not it. All right. So if we focus on what kind of market we're in, it's going to give us some pause in order to gain more information, right? So I would rather gain more information by being observant than by paying for it. And it's odd because when you're trading live and you're on live stream, and you can say something, information gets old so quickly, because you can say something and it might not matter in 30 seconds because conditions change. So we have to stay super flexible inside of that. Let's take a look at this, at what our fib clusters are telling us. Okay. Yep. I still think we can trade lower. So another way you can trade it is, look, it's really cool here on the fib clusters, because if you're looking at this, hey, sell the high, buy the low, right? So if you must, and if you're a scalper with a quick trigger finger, right? So sell this area. So you're selling this band up here, and you're buying this band down here. And you're not waiting for the extreme. What you're waiting for is you're entering into this area. Sorry, not that area. Let me grab the pen instead. So you're entering right here in this area, and then you're waiting for price to come up. It comes up as soon as it shows it's weak. You're entering, and what you're trying to do is get right back out here. You want to be out of most of it in the middle, and then maybe you get a move down here, maybe. But mostly, what you want to do is try to get in up here, and then wiggle down and get out somewhere in the middle, and pray that you get the breakout of the day. And so, what is your risk on that? All right, let's talk about that. So then your risk becomes the high, right? So your risk becomes the RTH high. You want to try to get out right towards the top end of that range. Let's take a look at the Thinkorswim chart, because that has the settlement on it. Yeah, see, okay, so we're back to the settlement. Now we're above it, and we're testing value area high. So the regular trading hours high is 77.8350. $77.8350. Let's see if we get the let's see what price has in store for us. You know, the hardest part about these balance markets is just justifying the risk reward. Again, if you have like an ATA strategy or something like a PTG methodology, that's fantastic for these kind of markets and these kind of days, because you can employ different strategies to kind of put your day together. I mean, if you can grab 5 points on this strategy and maybe grab 7 points on another one, then you're kind of clawing your way to a day. The important part there is to just try to pick your spots really well, keep that risk really tight to the chest, and then don't overtrade them. Yeah, I have a sneaky suspicion that was. Let me see what the low looks like. Yeah, I'm not convinced that the low of the day is in just yet. I am just not convinced. Let's see what the ATAs have. Let me get back here. 77.91. I'd be trading that. Sure, why not? Let's see. Oh wait, this is on a. Let me just get this going here. All right, so let me know if you guys have any questions about that, about balancing markets and how to approach those. $77.84. That's value area high, developing value area high, with yesterday's value area high being 77.80. Okay. What am I looking for here? Oh, I think this got jammed up. Let me just take a look. Yeah, it looks like it's. I don't know what happened. That doesn't look right to me. All right, getting that move up here past the settlement. We're above value area high. We're above yesterday's value area high, coming in to test yesterday's high at 77.86.75. I had that one trade at the beginning. I tried to catch that breakout, but I think today's, I mean, it's really all about balanced markets, right? Um, so there's one thing that, so obviously, I think a bunch of you know that I really focus on. I have a large part of uh, my trading decisions are based on order flow, and on because I use order flow frequently, balance areas are my nemesis, and I'll tell you why. So I work there often. Also, you know, I worked at Bloomberg for about 10 years, and when I was at Bloomberg, one of the I worked in analytics, and then I worked in before I left, I worked in trade book. And what we would do there was we would monitor literally their trade book, so we would see where the orders were going, and I didn't know whether the orders were going to the NYSE or to the CME. I just, you know, I had a packet, I had an IP address, and so forth, and that's the way I understood it. But there would when the on choppy in hindsight, and I didn't know this until many years until I was in there working there many years. What I ended up noticing was on the low, because you would think that on high volume days when you have high big directional move, I mean high big ranges, that the level of digital the level of like digital traffic would have been higher, but it wasn't. It was higher on days where there would be a compressed range, and that would be because it's harder. I think it was because there's more there are more transactions at the same prices, so there's more traffic at the same in the same areas. And the middle of a balance is where good trades go to die. Like, you have to look at it like that. If you have a good trade is so let's what is a good trade? So look, in perfect parlance, right? This is a good trade. So you get a directional move here, Let me just grab a different color. So you get a directional move here. You get your pullback here, and then you're looking for that extension so that you can start scaling out up there, right? That's a good trade. A good trade is never the EKG move, right? Where we are, say, where we're putting in some type of structure like this. Let me erase that green line. This is never a good structure, a good day. That's not what a good, that's eventually that's going to print as an EKG type move. Okay. Or maybe you'll get something like this, where ultimately that's where you close out. We don't want that type of move. I don't want to trade this. That is not what I want to trade. I want to trade this. Or that. And I don't really even need all of this. I just we just need to get in here and have our scales out somewhere before this high, and then see if, you know, and then we're participating at no risk. But we don't want to trade this where we are jumping in here, right? Where we are trying it here, and then what? Getting stopped out down here. And then we're trying it again here, where we had this type of a fake out move, but ultimately we just came back to here where we try it there, and then we're getting stopped out somewhere, you know, on lack of follow through for hopefully a break even somewhere along this line. All right. And as I'm talking about that, we're getting nice follow through higher. I'm yapping a lot and I'm missing the trade. No harm, no foul. There's always something around it. I like to have an abundance mindset. There'll be something. All I need is one good trade. Okay, so now let's see. 77.96 for you guys on the blueprint. And for anyone that's not subscribed to the market blueprint, it is free today. So I made it free today so that you guys in the pit can follow along. And you can get a better idea for what I'm talking about. Okay. And if you do subscribe, there will be a special discount for you for a Pitbull Traders evaluation account. Sign up now. I'll send you the link. Also, if you guys are not subscribed to the Pitbull Traders X account, do us a favor and go follow that account, because that's where these promotions are now going to be. Me and the guys have been working on some promotions, so that's where those promotions are going to be coming out. There's going to be giveaways going through that X account. There's going to be live promotional. So do me a favor, go back there and make sure you follow that account. That's going to be the hub for all of these promotions. Hey, you know what? Real quick, let me just get back to the higher time frame, because there's this piece of there's this structural. Let's take a look at this, right? I think this is going to matter. This is going to matter. This is going to matter. Let's just draw this out here. We want to know what this high Come on. Jesus. I want to know what that high to high is. Right? I want to know where that is. Okay. See if I can get a little bit more. Let's see if I can get a better low for today's low. Today's low. All right. Those are one that I want to know. I want to know where that trend line is. It's coming in on this chart somewhere here. I think at some point that trend line is going to matter. All right, so now we have a decisive move. Right now we're above yesterday's high, we're above settlement, and we're above value area high. All right, good. Now we have a directional bias, right? Again, being mindful of the balance area. So let me ask you a question. Do you favor a breakout here? And if so, meaning a breakout above, because the only thing we could break out above, break out from is the overnight range. Okay. We already broke out of the nano balance that's formed on the open. So we can entertain I guess you can entertain a pullback to like settlement value area high somewhere in here. Right? And then we carry this kind of look where we broke out. We broke out above the nano balance. We know we have these daytime frame areas. Maybe we can get a move like that to target the overnight high. Yeah, that's possible. I mean, we have this descending trend line here, but to contend with, but it looks like it's beelining there for it now. Not going to give it. So if it does, listen to this, right? If it does a directional move, if it goes straight up to here, I'm just going to have to understand that I missed the trade, because the strength, the momentum, and this descending trend line, also taking into account that we are bull flagging on the 4-hour in what looks to me like an immature flag. Unless we break above this area with strength and momentum on the hourly and get a pullback and it follows through, I'm going to be suspect of this, that we're going to just mean revert and come right back into the balance area. We're going to come right back into here. So I think that we could easily come up and then come back down and then maybe close out somewhere in here. I have to be on alert for that. I had that one little trade. I think I lost a few points on it this morning. And then I got run over by an ATA rogue order that I left open. So but whatever. I'm at $212 drawdown, which is just a standard cost of doing business. Remember, when we're in a balance market, you almost have to look at it completely different from a trend, because balance markets reward failed breakouts, right? It's different. It's a completely different mindset. In balance, sometimes the best trade is the breakout failure. It's to look above and fail. It's to look below and fail. Another thing to know about balance markets is that if you are someone who uses oscillators, you are going to be drowned by multiple divergences or false signals, I should say. I used to hate that about, like, I use a MACD and an RSI, and I couldn't understand when I needed to trade a divergence, when I didn't need to. So Yeah, just understand what kind of market you're in. These are the markets where you finally think the breakout's going to happen, and then it just goes sideways, and then it just liquidates. If we break out above the range and then and go with strength and momentum, we'll know it if we see it, and it will give us a chance to get in. More importantly, all right. So we came up here. We're up. Look, so this was up here, close to, I believe, the Globex value area high, and I think that matters today. Because our Globex range was just pretty much right in the middle, or in the middle of this balance area, right? So we're calling the balance area up here, right? This is our balance. Let's do this too. Let's measure this out in a different way. I want to measure this out in a different way. Let's bring out a different tool. All right. Oh, I need to save this as a different drawing set. Today is 8/10. Save that, and then remove all these drawing objects. Remove, clear drawing set. Yes. Okay, so here's what I want to do. Right, I want to take this balance area, and I want to use my balance area tool, measurement tool, and I want to measure my balance area as we did on the last balance area. Okay, this is the tool I always use when I'm in a balance area, and I'm going to give it, like, it has these quad based. It gives you the 0, 25, 50, 75, and 100% of your balance range. And so we'll know it. If we break out of this range, we're going to know it. All right. I think that's probably the best chart to have up right now. The best chart marking is to have that up right now. Interestingly enough, though, we came down, we tested those moving averages, and then we moved higher. So that's a good sign. That's constructive for the bulls for sure. Definitely constructive for the bulls. All right, we're up to 77.91, which at one point was our volume point of control in the overnight session. So you can see here, obviously we had this big volume explode at the open. But if you look at this was the volume point of control during Globex. That was 77.91. So let's see what happens. There's a tranche of inventory right here. You can see it in this notch. That's something to keep an eye on. That's an area where I want to watch order flow. I want to see who's home. Right? Are we bailing out longs? Are we bailing out shorts? $77.91 is thus far is our high, our regular trading hours high. Also, here's another thing about that just came to mind about balance areas. The dangerous part about getting comfortable fading balance is eventually one of those is going to fail. But again, that speaks more to, I think we all need to, at some point, come identify what our strengths and what our weaknesses are. And we can do that simply by looking at looking at how many, what trades we like to take, where are our trades that we tend to do well. But in order to do that, you have to have some type of structure to your trading. I was talking about that, having that kind of structure in the prop trader boot camp live stream that we did.
First pullback, take trade.
All right, so here's our pullback to developing value area high, 77.84. Let's see what happens here. I almost favor, a fade up here and see and test the balance theory. See if I can get a fill. What does the high look like? We hit that 77.91. I don't know. I could be wrong on the balance, too. So I mean, you'll never know until you place the bet. That's going to tell you. I haven't done anything yet. Yeah, look at that. It's in the pullback. Yeah, I'm not. Balance markets are not are not really. You can hear by how much I'm cautious of them because they tend to not be where my strengths lie. Let me know, sound off, if you are a good balance trader, if you know how to trade those balance areas. I'd love to hear about it. I would love to, and more importantly, I'd love to chit chat with you because, gosh, I just like to pick your brain on it because uh, maybe I can learn something. I think one of the characteristics that one of the character traits is that has served me well in being a trader has been it just I'm naturally a curious person, and so I think that has served me well. It's helped me more than it's hurt me, I should say. Always trying to figure out what somebody else is doing or how they're doing it. Get really in the weeds with it. Someone that's really good at it. Philly D says never stop learning is key. I agree. Yeah, that's key. You have to stay available to other uh to other methodologies. and unfortunately, that seems to get harder as I get older. That natural curiosity is not that I'm not that I'm more set in my ways, because I'm not, but I find sometimes that I'm making myself less available to. So there was a time where I used to seek it out, and now I'll just, if it's there, I'll ask, but if not, I don't know. It could be a momentary change. Who knows? All right, looks like we're holding here above yesterday's high, so that's constructive for the bulls. Okay, definitely constructive for the bulls. I'd like to see, for myself personally, what I'm looking for is let's get above that trend line. I'm looking for something like that. Yeah, I kind of felt that this might be a tough go this morning. I just realized none of those went out. Yeah, good job, Terry. Did you catch it? Yeah, it worked out really well. I didn't catch it. I was in on it at, like, I got in late. Like, I got in up here. So here's how I traded it. It wasn't very good. Uh, so I got in. I bought one. Wait, hang on. Let me get the right chart. The right um, setup here. Let me just highlight how I executed on it. All right, so this is our support area right here, market blueprint support, 77.71, 77.75 or so. I thought this was the opening print candle. I got in on this candle at I had one at like 77.75, and then so we opened at 77.73. When we went back through the open, I bought it, and then I added one like in here somewhere, and my average was like 77.77. And then when we came back through, I saw this wick and I closed it. So I lost. I'm down $212. I only got two contracts on. I only had two. I was only able to get two contracts on, and I'm glad, because I wanted to go in three. I wanted to start the position with two, and then scale, and then add one, and I didn't do that. So all good there, all good. All good. Let me go back over here. Strategies. There's an 810 setup here. Yeah, it's pretty. Oh, look at where right at that trend line too. Mm. We have a 77.93.50 high at the trend line. Perfect touch. Tried one at 70. It's trying some at 77.91, 75. It's a preempt. I have a level just above it, but there's the A10 there. We're still at that Globex, at that volume notch from Globex. Again, I'm just risking like 4 to 5 ticks on it. I'll know if I'm right. 91.75. I'll know if I'm right if we come back up. And I mean, the high is 93.75. If it goes back there, I'm gone. Right. So let me try this. See if I can find it here. Yeah. So in right about here. Oh, okay. And then if it trades back here, then I'm gone. No need to overstay my welcome on that one. Long chart. Oh man. Here's the position. So looking for 5 on the wait, is that 5? Looking for 87.50 on the first for 4. Why is this thing not following me? No, I don't want to do that. Okay. What is our VWAP? That's 80. Oh, yep. Look at that. Coming right back in. I'm out. So I think I lost like a few ticks on that. I think 2 ticks. Not interested. Again, I have the area. It's just above there. Oh, look at that. We didn't. How many did I lose? Yeah. Hit that trend line, reversed. I think what they might trap here and then push them up to there. Who knows? All right, let's take a look here at what we have on the yeah. So balance now is currently under pressure. Like, so if we get above these areas, I mean, we're already above yesterday's high, right? And that is a daytime frame area. Okay. However, we know because we frame our narrative. Uh, I'm gonna try. Maybe I try to. Let me see what I see. No, look at that. Look at that volume come back in. 93.50 is the high. Yeah, they probably go up to overnight high and trap. You see the delta. The delta was just like going negative, but now it's not. Yeah, nothing to see here. I tried one right there at 92, 91.75, sorry. Back into my same price from before. Adding another one right there. Just see if I can. Just leave the stop above the high. So here's what I'm looking at. Interestingly enough, we're right at that 75% of the balance area high. So we'll see what we get. I got a couple with let me see. Oh, look at that. Nice follow through. My bank card, the table, my hand. 91 is the average. I got one at 92 for sure. Looking for 82 if I can get lucky. If I can get lucky, 82, and put this one down here, whatever. See if we can fade the extreme of the balance area. Again, you know, just trying to get in as closely to my exit as possible. This is probably, you know, I look, this is my risk versus my reward. All right. So if for 2 to 1, I need to get down to 77.86. Let's put an order there. And we'll see. I think it has a decent risk. I know it has a decent risk reward. The question, does it have the probability? Let's go 4 to 1. Yeah, the more we chop around this high too, it's like, so I'm trying to, so I have an area at, I'm front running the area probably too much, but I also have a PTGA 10, and my area on the blueprint is up here. So I have a area on the blueprint from 77.96 to 78.01. That is, let's see. That is setup number 6. Let's see what the, do we have a fib here? Nah. Let's keep an eye on that delta. If that delta starts popping, starts being supportive, then that means they're probably going to stop on, they're probably going to spike them higher. Let's see what the weighted AD is doing. Yeah, it's of course it's bullish. It's definitely up for sure. Like for this, I don't like fading these moves. That's why sometimes I don't like to look at this. But this is at 77.91. So you see that's the fib cluster right there. That's in alignment with setup number 6. We got a little bit of a divergence, but it looks like they're just going to, they want to Move them higher. Yep. Overnight high is 77.96 quarter. I do like the risk reward here, though. Let me see. I mean, that's a 4-to-1. And that's a potential target. I just don't like the probability here. We'll see. It's not looking very good right now. So let me know if you guys have any questions on today. See what the profile looks like. We have single prints from 77.88 down to 77.83.75. We have a 22-point range. It's all just looking very, very tepid. Let me stop it up there. Oh yeah, look at that. So I'm out. Yep, got taken out. Stopped out on that one. Man. I think we want I think 2-to-1 risk reward is good. Okay. Thank you. All right, let's get back to balancing markets. All right, here we go. We are testing the overnight high. It is 10:45 on the time. Let me see. Yeah, that was it. 10:30 pullback, bullish structure. I'm just not a buyer. I'm not. Let me see. I'm not convinced on this low, but that iceberg held it for sure. All right. Switch out accounts. Let's jump into a different one. Let's go to 7. Oh, look at that. I do have a setup coming up here at 77.96. I have continuation long. Let's see what the structure is. At this point, I'd rather trade that just because of what we're seeing. Let's see how this materializes. 77.98. Looked above. So far, we're looking above the overnight high. 32 contracts off. I think they're going to move them higher here. Yep, number 6. That's what I'm focused in on. Let's see if we can get the breakout. It's going to be, so what time is it? It is 10:45. Yeah, so let me just maybe like 11, right? So let the structure build out here. I definitely don't want to try to anticipate anything here. Um, See how this candle resolves in about 1 minute, and then we'll have to see how we open on the next one and gauge it from there. So again, so look, so my trade idea was based upon the balance, was based on the balance thesis. But so balance trains, have trained me to fade the edges. I'm also talking about, hey, when balance breaks out, eventually all balances break. It's just a question of in which direction do they break. Typically, how ES is, the first break is not the break or so forth. I mean, you can fill your mind with those narratives, but you're better off just trusting your eyes and believing what's in front of you before you trick yourself as you see the move materialize. But acceptance now is so when Bruce pointed out trade number 6 is coming up, what my focus is now is that, I want to wait till like 11:15 maybe, because and I, again, going back to what we spoke about last week about often I have to be more mindful of when traders speak, that they tend to gloss over these concepts. And what I meant by that is that I want to see an acceptance form. So essentially, I want to see. So we understand we have this bullish move. We have this move higher. Okay. Now, what's going to happen? Are we going to come down? Well, if that's going to happen, then we know what that should look like. It should be a fairly swift rejection. But if not, if we start building value up here and showing acceptance like this and start making, testing higher, then that's not what this looks like here. Let me move that off. And we'll assess that look and trade that structure if it materializes. But the key is to wait for that acceptance right here. I don't like, it's always hard when you focus in on one key portion of analysis, right? So like, I don't like the way the low form 77.71. There was an iceberg order down there, and typically auctions don't end like that. So yeah, I'm thinking that maybe there is a shot for us to remain in balance, and I want to try that trade. Look at that. That's a look above and fail so far, but we're early. Let's see, 10:52. Let's give this 3 more minutes to form out, right? Let's just give it some time here. I want to be sure about it. This can just be again another pullback. So where if we traded higher, and then if we pull back, what do we need to see here in order to confirm the look above and fail? I think that's the better question. So in order to confirm the look above and fail, we'll follow the structure that we've been given, which is our most recent pullback low, which came in at just above VWAP. So let's follow the structure and how we got here. Oh, no. Nope. Take that off. Okay. So let's follow the progression. Follow the market, Mr. Market, what it's telling us. So we had the breakout. We had the big selling tail. And then what did they do? They stopped out all those shorts. It balanced on the low, and then we broke out. After the breakout, price came back and gave us a pullback low long trade. A pullback long trade right here. So price broke out, stop. It broke out. It came back. It gave us the long trade, the long pullback here, and then we tested the overnight high. So now, if that overnight high is going to hold, and this is just another pullback in that series, then our first reference is that low, that pullback low where buyers got in because they're now feeling the heat, 77.84. If we get back below that 77.84 in a look that would materialize in something bearish, something like this, but then we show accept. So again, we're in this larger balance area, so we can't look for this move lower because that's not typically what happens. But what we want to see is that, hey, we don't get back above into the developing value area high area, and that we eventually start auctioning and testing these guys conviction right here, these buyers. And you can already see we're coming back into that low to test it. So let's just keep an eye on this here very closely. All right. See if what Mr. Market has in store for us and the rest of the universe. Man, I was early on that. I should have waited. I should have did it at the overnight high. It's been a tale of. So hey, so guys, let's dial in on that today, right? So look, I oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but so I was. Sometimes it just happens this way, right? So I shared with Terry how I traded the long, and I ended up getting caught in this wick, but I managed that really well. I think I took like I was down $200, not a big deal. And then on this one, I tried it once. I lost like 2 ticks, and then on the second one, I was like 91. So that was 94. So I lost 3 points on that. But it's more been a tale of being late, right? So I was late here, and then I was early here. So what is that telling me? Well, it's telling me that my timing is shit today, right? My timing is not dialed in. But more importantly is, what am I going to do with that information? Well, I don't want to sit here clicking away on a day that I know that my timing is bad. So I hope that makes sense. I hope I can paint a picture and you guys can learn something from me. My bank cards on the table. So, hey, for you guys on what using the market blueprint. So when days that I'm looking for, like, so I've been speaking a lot about balance today, and that's a day. Although I'm drafting the trade setup number 6 continuation long. So that's the day that I would favor selling that area. Because if I'm expecting balance, we opened and we had like 30 minutes of a 12-point range. So that's half of the initial balance was super compressed. We're at 26.75 range, and we are 90 minutes into the day. Oh shit, my screen dropped. Let me know if you guys see that again. I hadn't realized that happened. Bang. All right, back up again. Back up again. All right, quick bathroom break for me. I'll be right back. Okay. I'm back. Screen's frozen. Let me know if you guys have any questions about trading a balance area. Okay, so we just came down. We just tested the settlement. Remember, we have to gauge this now. Settlement was 77, 79, 75. So let's judge this. Let's gauge this bounce. Are we going to go to the bottom? Are we going to retest the 71 area? Or is the settlement going to give us the higher low that gets us to retest the upper portion of the band? Again, let's make sure that we're focused in on the higher time frame, though, because remember, look, we just tested our 75% of the range, and we didn't look above and fail. So if balance rules apply, does everyone know what balance rules are? This is an interesting. This is an interesting candle formation here on the 2-hour. I want to look at the 4-hour because that's more popular. I love the 2-hour though. All right, we're getting that nice strong bounce there. Let's take a look at the 4-hour. It's going to tell us a lot. It's going to tell us a lot about that. Right. Okay. That's interesting. It's interesting that we came
First
back.
pullback, take trade.
Okay. I'm wondering if we know what balance rules state. Okay, so balance rules are the balance rules state that if, again, it's not a rule, it's a guideline. And balance rules are simply if price tests an edge of the balance area like we just did, we just tested the 75% range of our bull flag balance. Balance rules state that if price is rejected at the edge of balance, then it should test the opposite end of balance. And thus we would get something like this on this chart. Okay? But I don't think that the 4-hour chart is the balance range because we just tested the not the full balance range, the 75. So had we gone here and rejected, then yeah, we could expect something to go down here and then maybe reject. But since we have this nano balance nested within the larger, higher time frame balance, we're likely to see something like this, where price is tested up here and we come back to the 50 and then close somewhere within that balance area. So let's just redraw that. So here's what we would be doing since this is our balance area. Balance rules apply. If you applying balance rules to this area, we just tested up. Oh, wait, let me get a different color. We looked above, we failed. We should come back to the bottom end of balance and then come back in. If balance rules hold true today. Again, that's, if if it's a quiet day, there's no Truth Social bombs, or at least that's the way I want to think about it, or I do think about it going in. So let's watch here closely yesterday's high at 86.75, as well as that fair value gap at 88 quarters. So watch 86 to 87 here. I'm going to be watching that closely here for a potential entry. Let me just go look at my plan and see where I am. So this is boom, boom, boom. Wait, yep. Let me just double check that. Hang tight. All right, testing yesterday's high, 86.75. So remember, a failed breakout or a look above and fail, it creates a destination, is how we want to look at it. And the destination is typically the center portion of that balance area. So if you were short up there, you want to take you can see already the profit taking coming out of it. When price looks outside the balance area, can't find acceptance and comes back in, then and gets through the middle with some momentum, then the opposite edge becomes the logical destination. Again, we want to be judicious and prudent about how we trade the balance areas, because it could just retest the high. So that's why the center portion makes so much sense in terms of being an area where you might want to take some profit. Let's talk a little bit about how balance area structure forms, because you tend to go sideways more, you tend to get more candle prints. So with that being said, we cannot, it's not a good idea to place so much emphasis on one candle print. However, the edges are the ones we want to focus on. Coming back down into test the settlement at 77, 79, 75. Remember that sideways markets have more candle prints. So it's more likely when you back test this stuff and you see a balanced day, you're more likely to have overlapping candles as opposed to a directional move that's going to give you more elongated structure. You're probably going to see more like this. And you can see that's what we're doing now. We're forming this little micro balance in here. Again, so what's the read here? So then focus on the extremes, right? Well, we want to, hang on. So what I want to focus on in these balance areas are the extreme prints. Sorry, that's wrong. So I want to focus on these. I want to focus on these wicks and these. What I don't want to do is give a lot of weight to things in here, to these prints. Because they're not telling me very much. I don't want to get confused. It's better off to just focus on the extremes. So here in this balance area that we have today, here's my focus. I'm focused on these wicks, okay? And so these wicks, let's draw it out. So if we get below 73 to 75, that gets my attention. So if we start auctioning down here into this range, right, that's going to get my attention. I want to see if I want to gauge that reaction. And on the top side, you can even go way back here. I'm focused on these. I'm not worried too much about what's going on in the middle. Doesn't matter to me. What I want to see is, do we get down there? Do we bounce? Or do we extend lower? That's it. We get down here, do we bounce or do we get lower? Or do we come back into balance? I think we know what the expectations are today, and that can happen from multiple places, right? On the top side, did we get a breakout, elongation from any of these points? Or do we simply come right back in, then trade up, and then move back into balance from any one of these points? All right, back up into, let me check out that. You know what else I want to get up is the, I'm not sure if that might be noise on a day like today. I'm not sure that today's the best day to have SPYGATE going. It just might turn into noise. Let's see. 88 quarter. Trying some right there at 80, 87, 50. Short. I'm just looking for a return right back to balance, and I'm looking for 84.50, 83.50. Let me, sorry, Terry, next time, just let me know if it's not up. Bank cards on the table. Ultimately looking for 5. And then who knows, maybe I get lucky and get a 10 out of this. Reduced size. Reduced size. I just don't. So one thing that I think it might hurt this trade is that I just don't think we have enough. I'm too early in this balance area. I think I'm in too early. What time is it? 11:50. Yeah, that's probably what's going to hurt this. I might just close it and then re-enter. I'm assuming I'm too early. Well, let's see. Let's let it play out. I think I think the risk is okay here. Probability is, again, balanced markets are not really my strength. Oh man, I was just distracted by that. Let me take a look at this. Okay. Let me take a look at this. Look at that fib cluster right there. That's not gonna be, that's not helpful. Michael Berry thinks the markets are overpriced. So do what you will with that. Again, so does everybody understand the idea for this balance type trade? We discussed balance in the higher time frame, right? Always that our ruling reason, our kind of our North Star is always going to be this higher time frame chart. You can see how often throughout the day I reference it. I always want to get that visual look to see how the market is unfolding. For me, it's a big deal to zoom out. It's done wonders for my trading. I highly recommend it. So here we're on this larger time frame balance, and it's, in my eye, it looks immature on a 4-hour. I think we can fill this out a little bit more and perhaps break out later on this week. If you're reading the market blueprint, you know what I'm expecting. I'm looking for a breakout. I think that we can get up to at some point this week. I think we're going to at some point this week we're going to see up into 80, 78, 50, perhaps even 78, 75. Once this breakout happens, I think we can start testing up here. So let's get an idea for how to measure out this balance area and get an idea for, you know, what the potentiality of it is, right? What can we possibly see in terms of a breakout? So one way you can do it if you use your measuring tool, you can measure for an extension. And we can measure this extension, and instead of it, we'll do a 1.5, and then we'll do a 1.75, and then let's get a 1.25 in there. So this is just a quarter extension. So here, this is what the potentiality of the breakout could lead to if we break out, right? Always want to have that measuring tool out. So this is our balance area. If we, let me get the yellow one up. Okay. Prayed up, down, this creates our balance area. So if we, using this area, no, let me draw that differently. This is our balance area. So we're looking for 25% of this balance would be bring us to 78, 44, 50. 50% like to trade this balance area plus 50%. So let's just do the math on that. Let me just take a quick look at this trade, see how it's doing. Yeah, we're just chopping. So we have our high coming in at our all-time high coming in at 78.20. And our low coming in at 77.24. That's 96. Okay. So if we add 96 to 78.20, that would bring us up to 79.16. So that just gives you, I mean, that's just a rough estimate. Oh, wait, we're moving lower here. Got the first target, +5 on the first, guys. Heads up. Slowly but surely. I got the 5. Let's see if I can get a 10. Man, what did it take till today? What time is it? Jeez, I'm slacking. 11:26 for me to get a winner. I don't like that. I'm slipping. That doesn't get a clap. Or my new favorite one, the Ric Flair. Woo! I love this one. For all you, let's see, Ric Flair. All you wrestling fans. Hey, if you, gosh, I don't know what to think about that. But I wrote a piece on Substack. I think it might be fun for you to read it. It's called "Social Media is like the WWE with candlesticks." I had fun with that one. I think I got a little bit too serious. I wanted to make it a lot more fun, but the ideas weren't vibing that when I wrote it. The idea was sitting there for a while. All right, so let's tag this out. Let's get this stop loss out. Let's tighten up the risk a little bit. I don't want to see it come back up here. So I'm going to move this to break even. And I might just take the coin right here, considering where I'm at on a day. Let's see, what time is it? 11:27. Yeah, I can always get back in. I'm sure we're not going very far. Or I can leave it at break even and see if I can capture something. Where's my structure? Right, let's see. No, dude, you're primed to get stopped out right there. All right, so here's the way I'll manage this one. I'll leave the stop in there for break even for now. But on any retest into VWAP 78.72, that reverses, I'm just clicking close. Give it a chance to work and exit on some type of a strategic, trade. So we're fading the edges because we're respecting the higher time frame balance. And so, but going back to the higher time frame, right? The 4 hour. Again, what's key about that is on a higher time frame is more importantly that prices are accepting up here 77 above 70. So this breakout is justified. I mean, at least from the market's perspective, right? We're just going sideways. That's bullish. This move probably breaks out, but not before a retest of this low or somewhere where we come in and then we put in a higher low and then we go. Unless we just grind higher, I don't know. I don't think the ES is. I don't know. I'm so used to the traps on ES. But that's what it did in March, right? We reviewed that this morning. All it did was go sideways before a breakout. Breakout sideways, breakout sideways. And the fact that it did that then, I'm not sure if it's going to work again. But we'll see. See what happens on this next candle print. Let's see what we have here. Okay. See this here. Yeah, Adrian, you're right. It looks like a lot of chop. We're coming back down into that settlement price again. So remember, let's review how we use the settlement. I mean, it's not really that useful on a balancing day because you're probably going to weave it somewhat, meaning you're going to trade above it, below it. But the way I like to use the settlement is if price, you can see it right here on this candle print. Price traded, it looked above, it was rejected. At that point, that's probably what gave me my early read of balance because it looked above the settlement, then came right back down below, but then came right back up to test it. Now we went above and we're coming right back down below to test it. But each time it's traded, it's gotten a reaction. So now if we break down below it, let's just watch that band at that prior high, which is 77.77. Okay, here we are retesting that low. Here's where I'm looking at order flow to give me a reason to stay in this. Hang tight, really quick. Have someone at the door. Okay, I'm back. What do we have? Yeah, back below. What did we test? Is that below settlement? Yesterday's point of control. Right. Yep. Just above yesterday's volume point of control. Here's what I'm looking for. This is why I'm trying to give this a little bit more room. Again, always you got just reiterating the way my style, the way I like to trade that suits me. We all have to find our own way, right? But if I get this pattern, right, then I don't want to give this one up. And that's the thesis for me holding this trade. If in case this extends and we go test the bottom of what we test, let's say near overnight low, or we look below and fail here, and then we bounce back up, then I'm giving up a good position that I've already gotten paid on. So I'm more willing to hold this and see if I can get down to maybe test the open. The open will likely have a reaction. So let's see. Let's see what we got. I'm always trying to stay in the position as long as I can. Again, that's something that I worked on for a long time, is just trying to hold it as long as I possibly can and see if I can get something out of it. What helped me a lot with that was recognizing patterns, day in and day out, just analyzing these patterns, these formations, understanding the characteristics of how ES trades on different days is also something that is also something is also some There's also something that will benefit you. Your trading. It's going to benefit your bottom line. And at the beginning, it was so hard to hold on to trades. Oh my God, it was so hard. It was so hard. You know, because you start to look at unrealized gains as losses. All right, coming down in to test the open. Oh no, actually, this open is 77.73. That's this open right here is marked. That's the Globex open from last night. So we're coming down in to test the Globex open. Our RTH open was 77.73. So it's actually not down until down here. But look, we're already retracing the move. All right, what do we hit? Yeah. Yeah. Now, this is likely to go right back into balance now. So I'm just going to go ahead and take a graceful exit plus 4.5. Plus 4.5 points on the second. Didn't quite reach the 10-point target. So I got 5 on the first, 4.5 on the second. It's that kind of day. Just take a graceful exit there. Reload. If we come back up here and test the high again, who knows? Little buy program. So I guess that was a good out. Whoa. All right, let me see what we have going on. Any questions? Let me know. Yep, exactly, Adrian. It's basically flat. I think we can. We, I think we can do the old, like that. Like that formation. That one just, if you're not on alert for it, it could be really frustrating. And so we have the first part of it. We definitely have the first part right here. Let's see. Maybe it's gonna go. I don't know. That's too much drawing. I think just this one right here is where it's at. Too much overanalyzing it. I'm gonna grab something to drink. I'll be right back. Watch 78, 77, 88, 75 to 77, 89, 75. Man, that setup number one is golden today. The front zone of that setup is what held us here. I really wanted another shot at that into the 11 o'clock hour, but didn't get it. Coming into 12 o'clock to our 12 o'clock lunch hour. All right, market's not giving us much right now. Not giving us much. Little croak from Spygate. Looks like we're probably going to auction up a little bit higher, test that developing value area high at 77.9250. Look, balance is boring right up until it breaks out, and this is why we have to. These are the days that, for me personally, it feels like I'm earning every moment, because I have to sit here in case something happens, and also simultaneously make sure that I'm not getting caught up in chop. And it takes a certain type of fortitude to do that. So make sure that you're not getting caught up in chop. This market is very much about rejecting one edge, and then the other edge comes into play. We just saw that again. We made a higher low relative to the early morning low. The middle of balance is really where you can't trade from the middle of this balance. At least that's not. It's not going to be very fruitful, because a directional play, it can chop you up. So you want to try to trade on. I want to try to trade on the outskirts of the balance, of the edges, or of the balance area. And mean reversion, like this today's been very much a mean reversion type of day, which are often very confusing. And if we look at the higher time frame, right, more candles in this area, what it's telling us is that on a higher time frame, the market is just building structure, and it's not necessarily an opportunity. There hasn't been very many opportunities in here today. We have a 26.75 range, 26-point range, 27-point range. I mean, if you've got 5 or 10 points, you did great. You know, wrap it up, go do something else. Even though look, we have this 5-minute kind of trend here, this trend kind of move. A 5-minute trend can still be nothing more than just a rotation inside of a 4-minute candle print. Sorry, 4-hour candle print, I should say. And the more we test these edges, it just came to me, but the more we test these edges, how can I put this? The edge of balance is not an automatic trade later in the day. It's more the early morning part of the day. You want to have that anticipation. You want to have that kind of like that mindset set up, or that thesis set up in your mind, right? You want to have that idea going into it. You know, this is what simulators are made for. Watch, trade on a simulator today and see how you perform. You can test your thesis on a simulator and not have to pay for it. So hard to trade these balance areas. And it's also we're just not going to get that many opportunities, right? They're going to be more messy moves than there are going to be good moves. How do you how do you figure out when the balance is over? How do you figure out when the hardest part of trading balance is not trading the range. It's recognizing when the range is over. It's very hard to figure that one out. All right, guys. Today was really about understanding what kind of market we're in and testing your thesis early in the morning and kind of sticking to that and seeing if it plays out. I think we spent the better part of the morning focused in on the higher time frame balance and why price tends to rotate from one edge to another within that higher time frame balance, and why the middle of that balance can be some of the most noisiest trading you encounter. It's important that when you have those funded accounts and when you have those evaluation accounts that you're trying to pass and get over the hill, that you recognize when the market conditions are just not conducive to passing and to hitting those payouts and to getting to those targets. The big takeaway, I think, is that balance has rules, right? But those rules only work while the market is actually balancing, and that's a tough read. If you reject one edge and then the other edge comes into play, you don't know where in the middle of that range it's going to revert, break outside and fail. You break outside, come back inside. The information just gets so noisy. But if price goes outside the range and holds there and starts building acceptance, that's when the game changes. And that's, I think, what we're all waiting for, because that becomes the more lucrative trade. That's the trade that I want to participate on. I want to keep my risk really low. I want to keep my trading to a minimum on these days. That's the part that I want all of you to remember, is that not every day when the markets were ripping higher, that was the day to attack it. So balance today can become a trend tomorrow. So let's just look out for that. So identify the regime that you're in and try to trade that accordingly. Try to trade earlier than later. If you thought the morning session was choppy, imagine what today's lunch session is going to be like. So be mindful of that. And with that, I'm going to sign off for the day. So thanks everybody for tuning in. I'll see you all tomorrow, I guess. I'll be in the Manny tab again tomorrow. And hey, I'm going to post about that Pitbull Traders giveaway right after I speak to the guys. So look out for that. I'll be posting it later on in the pit and also in the Manny room. So yeah, take care, guys. Have a good one. Yep, you're welcome, Delphine.